when I was 16 years old and a couple local business people gave me a chance. You know, watching them from a young age, I saw how Taylor Auto Sales treated the community. Not just selling them a car, but maybe supporting the Peony Parade. The Peony Festival was Don Taylor's big thing. Peony Festival went away for a lot of years, but it was people like Don, I think, that brought not only the festival, but the parade back. Just supporting people, you know, other businesses. When I worked there Saturday, we'd close at noon, and a lot of times 5 or 4 of us as a group, Gary'd take us all to Balliot's, which is where the bistro is now. Is that supporting your community? Heck yes it is. He would go there and, you know, he would buy us all lunch. He would give the waitress a nice tip, whatever. So, you know, along with that, he supported a lot of functions, a lot of, you know, basketball and baseball and football teams and girls and dance and just everything that went along with that.
Hi, I'm Griff McCracken, and I am the CEO at the Van Wert Chambers of Commerce, and this is my first podcast, and I'm here with my dad. He's going to introduce himself, and yeah.
Hey, my name is Eric McCracken. I guess Griff said it all. I'm his dad. I'm the owner of Lee Kinsel Chevrolet GMC on Irvin Road here in Van Wert. Also the owner of Taylor Auto Sales on 231 South Walnut here in Van Wert. A proud member of the Chamber of Commerce, proud dad of 4 boys, Griffin, Eamon, Jalen, and Ryan. I've lived in Van Wert since I was about 18 years old. I have been a member of this community my whole life. I grew up between Middle Point and Wetzel, went to Lincoln View High School. Once school was over, I took a couple years in Fort Wayne to learn heating and air conditioning, but I had started my car journey at Taylor Auto Sales when I was about 16. I worked for Gary Taylor, Vicky Foster, Don Taylor, Gary Miller, and I worked there from about age 16 to 22 before I went to Lee Kinsel. So I've been at Lee Kinsel since I was 22, 23 years old. Roughly 1992 is when I came from Taylor's to Kinsel's. Was fortunate enough to buy Taylor's back about 6 years ago as Gary and Vicky retired and wanted to travel and do some other things, spend some time with their family. So always been a member here, always been a part of the community that I enjoy.
So you said that you started out at Taylor's when, obviously I know this, but the people don't. What made you want to get into the car business?
Yeah, I was close to your age, Griff. I was about 17, and my mom and dad were buying a pretty much like new 1981 Pontiac Grand Prix 2-door white that was really neat. I went along with my mom and dad to buy that car, and they were doing the paperwork, and actually Vicky was doing the paperwork with them in the small office there, and I was looking at the fish on the wall and the pictures of old cars and all the memorabilia, and the conversation came back to me, would you be interested in that? And I kind of looked at my mom, and my mom had asked if they had any part-time after school jobs. So they had an opportunity for a car wash guy at that time to help out, wash cars, do whatever. So I said, oh, okay, yeah. And at that time I was a junior in high school at Lincoln View, wasn't really thinking about working, had no idea, maybe that was what was on my mom's mind when we went there, but looking back, it was a great start to the car business for me. I remember my first couple days I wasn't washing cars, I was cleaning out a building, hauling tires and things that accumulate over the years and just dirt from head to toe, and I just loved it. That was what I liked doing. I was working directly with Don, and Don, a lot of people probably know Don, but a lot of people may not. He was Gary and Vicky's dad and Linda Carnes' dad, and Don started Taylor Auto Sales shortly after he came back from the war, and that was 70 plus years ago, and he was a hard worker. And Dom was starting to retire and probably slow down a little bit, and they gave Don me to do all the heavy, cleaning of things and doing stuff like that. From there, Don said I was a good enough worker that I could go, clean cars and do stuff. And things that I always remember is when I would go there after school for maybe 2 hours a day, and probably the things I learned then are still important today as far as how to clean a car, but even more important to me, they taught me values that if you work hard, good things will happen.
Yeah.
So eventually when I was there, I still continued to clean cars into my early 20s. Probably when I was 19 or so, I started to sell cars along with that. And I like to talk, as you can tell, I've dominated this whole conversation, but at the same time, it just kind of released the Kraken in me, and I was talking to people and wheeling and dealing and selling $10,000 cars and doing things that I really enjoyed. It was a great opportunity for me, and one other thing that was important with that, I really valued them as bosses and people, and I respected them. And later in life, that was important because, we came back together, and to this day, this week, I've had a couple business deals with Gary Taylor and with Vicky Foster, and they're terrific to me. But, that level of respect and showing up when I was supposed to and doing the things that I was supposed to led them to me to put faith in me.
Yeah. So, as I am the youngest of 3 older brothers, how was being the youngest of 8 siblings? Did that benefit how you think?
Having 7 brothers and sisters, I had 4 sisters, 3 brothers. My mom was roughly 48, Griff's grandma when I was born. Griff's grandpa, my dad, was about 52 years old, so not that far from my age now when I was born. Our family was kind of like 4 older siblings, 4 younger ones, and I was by far the youngest. I was way at the end. And, by the time my mom and dad had 8 kids, I think a lot of people thought, oh, he gets away with a lot, or they let him do it. They were veterans, man. They knew, hey, you can let your kid try that or do that or go alone or go with friends or whatever it was. And my mom and dad were great. My dad owned a plumbing and electric business. He worked his tail off. My mom did the books for him, and they were, great parents. They gave me a lot of good direction, made sure I went to church, made sure I had good friends, made sure that I went to school, and just got me the real basics, and that was important.
How do you manage all the stuff that goes on at Lee Kinsler? You get a lot of people that come in, and how do you manage with the used car business and the new car business?
Right.
The newer cars.
Great question. We sell, 60 to 80 cars a month. And usually about 15 to 20 of those are new and the rest are pre-owned. So the new cars come right from the manufacturer, from General Motors. We can sell new Chevrolets, we can sell new GMCs. Some cars come in and we park them on the lot, and you might see it parked there, and you come in and say, hey, I'd like, to get a price on that. Some cars and trucks are a little more difficult, so we have to factory order those. A lot of pickup trucks are that way, so that the consumer, the person gets what they want, color they want, the equipment they want. If you're looking at something on the lot, then you have to be flexible. So from that, we get a lot of people that trade up, and they trade in a car that's 2 or 3 years old, or sometimes 10 years old, or sometimes older, into a new car, and we turn around and we recondition that car. We clean it up, the trade-in, we service it, we make it as nice as we possibly can, whatever it needs. We have a great service department, great cleanup department, and then we offer it for sale. So it's a business. Trading, some people don't trade something in. Most of our pre-owned cars I buy, and I'm the guy that buys a lot of our pre-owned cars, but, I've got great people right there with me, Jeff Goody-Coons, Danny Miller, those two. Jeff manages the new cars in the finance department, and Danny manages the pre-owned. Gary Miller manages Taylor's. So those three take a lot of weight and a lot of stress off of me, because once the car comes in, they're deciding, hey, if it meets our expectations, here's what we need to do to it to get it, as Gary Miller would call it, Taylorized. Whereas, we want that car to be the best it can be. We take the dings out, we fix the paint problems, we do whatever it needs done. And sometimes cars that are just a few months or years old need a lot of work. Sometimes cars that are 10 years old don't need much, but we do anything we can to find those cars. Then the most important part is marketing the car. And that's what's changed the most in my, however many years I've been there, 35 years almost, is marketing used to be going to dinner, to a ball game, and handing your business card out saying, hey, I'm Eric McCracken, I sell cars for Lee Kinsel out there, and I'd love for you to come to look at a new truck. Okay, great. And at that time, those public visits were super important. They still are, but we have to market cars primarily on the internet, text, or things that maybe isn't super comfortable for somebody 57 years old, but that's how you guys do it. And that's how we have to do it, we still need to service our traditional customers with that business card and that handshake, but maybe we're selling a car over the internet to someone in Arizona or Utah that we never even meet. It's wired back and forth rather than somebody writing a check. There's a lot that's changed, but there's a lot that's stayed the same.
Yeah. So, really, what I have seen, what you just said, that takes a lot of hard work, and from what I know, you're the hardest working man in my life.
Well, thank you. Yep.
So,
Okay.
I've seen you on vacation, auctions on your computer with the online stuff.
Right.
So even after all that hard work, why do you think you should still do everything for your community?
Oh, I love this community. There again, go back to when I was 16 years old and a couple local business people gave me a chance. Watching them from a young age, I saw how Taylor Auto Sales treated the community. Not just selling them a car, but maybe supporting the Peony Parade. The Peony Festival was Don Taylor's big thing. And the Peony Festival went away for a lot of years, but it was people like Don, I think, that brought not only the festival, but the parade back. Just supporting people, other businesses. When I worked there Saturday, we'd close at noon, and a lot of times 5 or 4 of us as a group, Gary'd take us all to Balliot's, which is where the bistro is now. And is that supporting your community? Heck yes, it is. He would go there and, he would buy us all lunch. He would give the waitress a nice tip, whatever. So, along with that, he supported a lot of functions, a lot of, basketball and baseball and football teams and girls and dance and just everything that went along with that. But the most important thing to support your community is just to be positive. If someone comes up and says, you live in Van Wert or you raised your kids in Van Wert, the way I look at it, we have, and I'm talking the whole county of Van Wert, we have the best school systems here in Van Wert, Lincoln View, Crestview, and Vantage. I mean, you can walk in any of those buildings, any of those schools, and just be like, my kids would feel right at home here. I look back at your education, your brother's education at Van Wert. That's our community. Van Wert, the city schools, Mark Bagley, the superintendent, great friend, someone that puts our community and the kids first. And when you look at that, as Mr. Bagley works hard for our school system, it seems like coaches, teachers, school board, that all kind of falls into place along with them, principals. It comes from leadership. So why do I support our community? Because I want to be a leader in our community, but at the same time, I don't mind being a helper or a follower. Mm-hmm. If somebody says, hey, can you help us with this? Absolutely. I don't mind getting dirty. Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think that's what is important for leaders in this community, is to show, A, I don't mind getting dirty. B, I'm excited about being what. Look at what the foundation is doing downtown. Look at what the Marsh is doing out there, building that huge equestrian program. You can just go on any corner of town. Look at the data center that's coming. Look at the hospital. Like I said, you can just kind of circle around Van Wert, all the new homes, all the new opportunities. And what I see, and excites me most, is I see those young people that were growing up in Van Wert, going to Bowling Green or Findlay or Ohio State, and then I don't see them till they're 50 years old because I just run into them. Now they're going to Bowling Green, they're going to Findlay, Ohio State. Guess what? They're coming back and being teachers or being doctors or just being part of the workforce here. So that's, being part of the community is exciting. Helping our community is exciting, and continue to help it will be more exciting because all the opportunity.
Yeah.
For your age group, man, you are seeing a Van Wert like no one's ever seen it.
Yeah.
This is totally different. It's much more progressive, and I like that. I like seeing the changes and the things. And there's growing pains with everything. People say, oh, that street's closed, because they're repairing it, or that building's in the way. That's just thinking 3 years, it's going to be that street's going to be way more beautiful. That building's going to be somewhere you can go and gather, and the community can get together. So that's my take on the community. I love it.
Yeah. So that is it for the podcast.
Man, I thought we had 15. Oh, okay.
Well, it's been 15. I appreciate you coming in.
Griff, I appreciate you, and there again, appreciate the chamber and all that they do. Mark Verveal leading the team up here and doing a great job, and I hope that you learn from Mark, and I hope that you guys propel us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.